Now, there's a lot of superhero movies, but one thing that is consistent throughout all of them is the hero dating a self-centered and downright horrible girlfriend. And I could talk about the many terrible superhero girlfriends out there, but I'll save that for another video, because there's one worse than all of the others: Mary Jane. Now, there's multiple reasons why Mary Jane is such a shit significant other, but I'm just going to break down the top 3 reasons. So let's get started. The first reason is her constant need for validation and her cheating. I also want to mention that I'm talking about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films, not the MCU Spider-Man or comic Spider-Man. But back to this. One of the most significant challenges in MJ's relationship with Peter is her constant need for validation, which often leads her to seek emotional comfort outside of her relationship. This pattern is clearly evident throughout the trilogy, where MJ turns to other men for validation when she feels neglected or insecure, sometimes crossing emotional boundaries that resemble betrayal. Her constant need for validation ultimately becomes a damaging aspect in her relationship with Spider-Man, as she is unable to rely on his love alone to feel fulfilled. In the first Spider-Man film, Mary Jane develops a romantic relationship with Harry, despite her clear feelings for Peter. This decision reflects her emotional vulnerability and her tendency to seek affection wherever it's available. Rather than remaining committed to her genuine emotions, she uses Harry's attention as a temporary solution to fill her need for validation, even though she appears to have stronger feelings for Peter. And then later, in Spider-Man 2, this pattern repeats when she becomes engaged to that one guy, the astronaut son of J. Jonah Jameson. So she gets engaged to this guy while still having unresolved feelings for Peter. This kind of reflects her inability to confront her emotions honestly. So she's just using this astronaut guy's affection to fulfill her need for love and attention. This lack of commitment creates tension with Peter as he feels the effects of her emotional distance and inconsistency. But even in Spider-Man 3, MJ continues to struggle with her need for validation, a behavior that strains her relationship with Peter when she turns to Harry once again. After being dismissed from her role in a Broadway play, MJ feels frustrated and insecure. And rather than seeking comfort from Peter, she seeks comfort through her friendship with Harry. And although she didn't progress to physically cheating, her willingness to turn to him during a vulnerable time represents an emotional betrayal. This repeated behavior shows a lack of respect for Peter's feelings and her own inability to address her issues in a constructive way. Instead of facing her insecurities or communicating her frustrations with Peter, MJ consistently seeks validation from others. But that's not all. Number 2 is her self-centeredness and inconsideration of Peter's struggles. This is a big issue in her relationship with Peter. Her self-centeredness, which often manifests in a lack of empathy for Peter's unique struggles as literally being Spider-Man. MJ does face her own challenges, including career setbacks and personal frustrations. Her tendency to prioritize her own needs and ambitions often overshadow Peter's struggles, which undoubtedly are much more important. This focus on herself prevents her from understanding the sacrifices that Peter makes for both their relationship and as his role as Spider-Man. For example, in Spider-Man 2, MJ becomes frustrated with Peter for frequently missing her plays and other social obligations, not realizing the demands placed on Peter as his duties as Spider-Man. Her being upset is somewhat understandable to some extent, but rather than trying to understand why Peter is absent, she criticizes him and accuses him of being neglectful. At one point, MJ even expresses anger at Peter's failure to share his feelings, despite her lack of awareness of the reasons behind his behavior. When Peter tries to balance his duties as Spider-Man with his relationship, MJ fails to appreciate the toll it takes on him. Her inability to consider his perspective or empathize with his challenges reflects her self-centered nature, as she is more focused on her own disappointment than on supporting Peter. Now, there is a slight excuse for this because she didn't know Peter was Spider-Man until the end of Spider-Man 2, but in Spider-Man 3, MJ's self-centered tendencies become even more apparent. After she loses her job on Broadway, she becomes increasingly resentful of the admiration Peter receives as Spider-Man. And rather than sharing in his happiness, MJ lets her jealousy cloud her judgment, resulting in emotional distance and tension. I will be honest though, Peter wasn't all that great either. There was no reason to lay that kiss down on Gwen Stacy. But honestly, he might have just been fed up with dealing with MJ's bullshit the past 3 movies. But anyways, instead of telling Peter about her insecurities, she allows her frustration to fester, ultimately leading her to lash out and distance herself further from him. Time and time again, she's shown to focus on her own feelings without considering how they impact Peter. But the last thing we have here, number 3, is her lack of open communication and poor conflict resolution. MJ's lack of open communication further complicates her relationship with Peter. Throughout the trilogy, she sends mixed signals, often keeping her true feelings hidden or using indirect methods to express her frustrations. And this lack of clear communication prevents Peter from even understanding her needs and results in recurring misunderstandings and conflicts that could have been easily avoided with honest dialogue. Spider-Man 2, this shit was bad too, but let's just say it's because she didn't know Peter was Spider-Man. But in Spider-Man 3, MJ's communication issues escalate as she withdraws from Peter without explaining her reasons. After her Broadway performance is criticized, she becomes distant, yet she refrains from telling Peter about her feelings or her career struggles, and instead, she allows resentment to build, ultimately leading to confrontations that Peter cannot fully understand. MJ's inability to communicate to Peter honestly prevents them from working through their issues together. This all results in their relationship just never really working out. The only reason it worked out in the end was because Peter ditched the symbiote suit, MJ got kidnapped and was saved by Peter, and Harry died while sacrificing his life for Peter. That was still one of the best redemptions in a movie. Harry will be missed. But that's all I have for you guys today. There are many other reasons that MJ was such a shit girlfriend, but I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I don't even know if you guys want a video on bad superhero girlfriends. If you want a part 2, or for me to talk about other bad girlfriends, then let me know in the comments. If you guys like this video, then please like, subscribe, and check out some of my other videos. That's all I have for you guys today, so I'll see you in the next one.